So if I was sleeping really poorly, where would you look to go to first to improve it?
Straight out the gate. Straight
Hmm.
out the gate. First off, I'd say internally. I think a lot of people outsource how they feel with their sleep or how their sleep is using some sort of data tracker, right? Like a Whoop or a Apple Watch, you name it. I think you first need to subjectively be like, okay, like how do I actually feel? Because if you're waking up feeling groggy, low energy, you feel like you've slept rubbish, you've noticed that you've been waking up a lot. That's like one of the biggest signs that you obviously haven't slept well, right? So
Hmm.
I think the first way that you actually identify that you've got an issue with sleep is if you're feeling excessively tired, if you notice that you're waking up, or that you generally just, when you just feel like you haven't slept well. Like that is
Yeah.
the first port of
You
call.
wake up and you still feel tired.
Exactly. You
Yeah.
wake up and you get out of bed and you feel like you haven't slept. Your sleep's just not sleeping. So that's the first place to look at.
Okay. You spoke about like people go outsource their sleep with Whoop trackers or Apple Watches, either way. How accurate are those really to tracking sleep data?
So they're useful, right? They're not super accurate, but they're also not garbage, depending on which one you get.
Hmm.
The algorithms get better and better. The only way you can accurately look at your sleep is if you go into a sleep lab and you have an EEG, which are basically electrodes that monitor electrical activity, placed on your scalp, and they record your brain activity, right? They can then score your sleep stages and look at your sleep, and then they can actually deduce, okay, how much time you're spending in each sleep stage. Obviously, a Whoop doesn't do that, right? So I wouldn't say that they're pointless using, but I also think that people place way too much emphasis on them, right? Um, and I'm always like, if you wake up right and you feel good, subjectively you feel good, you've got a lot of energy, you're recovering well, then your sleep is doing what it needs to be doing. Okay, so for example, a lot of people, including myself, way back when, before I used to be a sleep scientist, I would wake up, I'd feel okay, I'd look at my sleep tracker. If I got a low score, I would then gaslight myself into thinking that I didn't sleep very well. And it's just so backwards. Use the data like to guide you, right? So if you do a
Hmm.
certain habit and your deep sleep improves by like 20 minutes, you should probably keep doing that thing. If you do a habit and then like your sleep quality is wrecked and you feel awful the next day and your recovery is telling you that you're 30% worse, then okay, maybe you shouldn't do that thing, right? Maybe you shouldn't drink alcohol right before bed. But those things are
Hmm.
also obvious. But if you do a certain habit, you use a tracker and then you can see what effect that's having on your sleep, then obviously that's the way that you can actually use these things to support you rather than like hinder you and like gaslight yourself into thinking that you're worse than you actually are.
Because at the end of the day, it's about how you feel, right? Obviously, someone, a fitness tracker, an Apple Watch, whatever, they can tell you that your sleep score was 100. They can tell you it was 50, it was 75. A lot of that actually is determined onto what time you set your bedtime on your phone, but also like what time and if you're sleeping within that range that you set, but also like how long you slept for and the ranges of sleep. But at the end of the day, it's about how you feel. And when you wake up, how you feel. When you go to sleep, are you tired before you go to sleep? Or are you awake before you go to sleep? Are you waking up in the night? All of these different things have factors, right?
100%. And I would say it is and it isn't about how you feel, right? So, in some regards, like if you've got no issues with your sleep, so if you're sleeping enough duration, you're getting enough deep sleep and REM sleep, and then you wake up and you feel good, or you feel how you're supposed to, that's fantastic. Now, there are some people that also gaslight themselves into thinking they feel fantastic even when they don't, right? Because some people are conditioned to sleeping 5, 6 hours and they think they are they think they have some sort of power that other humans don't. Okay, so they think that the rule of getting enough sleep doesn't apply to them. As is quite commonly, like I can get 5 hours sleep and I function fine. Okay, you might think that you're functioning fine, but your cognition is still impaired, right?
Hmm.
So your decision making is still going to be worse. Your reaction speed is going to be slower, and ultimately, you're not going to be the best performing version of yourself, right? So it's two ends of the spectrum, to where some people like they sleep very well, and if they didn't check the sleep tracker, they would perform at the level that they need to, and they wouldn't even think twice about it. There are other people that don't even like think twice about their sleep. They think that they can just push through 5 hours, 6 hours, and it's only until they do that for a long enough time to the point where they realize, okay, I'm actually a little bit cooked here. And when you get conditioned to your normal, right, that doesn't necessarily mean that that's like the best that you could be at. So yeah, I can wake up and I can get 6 hours and I can push through the day and I can get all my stuff done because I'm disciplined. That doesn't mean that I wouldn't be more productive and more focused and better if I didn't sleep more, right? Like obviously if I get more sleep and better quality sleep, I'm going to perform better than if I slept less. So two sides, two different kinds of people there. One are too focused on the score even though they sleep well, and other people that are don't care at all and think that they can just push through a limited amount of sleep because yeah, they're apparently not human beings.
Obviously, different people have different schedules, and like you say, some people they condition themselves into these 5 6 hour sleeps. They obviously can function with it, and they do function with it, and they like you say, tell themselves that what they're doing is enough and what they're doing is good enough to allow them to function. How much impact does that have over a long-term period on them?
Oh, well, it's huge. I mean, function is like functioning doesn't mean performing, right? And it's like with your sleep, essentially what happens in the night is you get most of your deep sleep in the first half of the night. So your body intentionally makes it so even if you get a limited amount of sleep, you'll still survive because deep sleep is essentially what keeps you alive. That doesn't mean that you're going to be like thinking at the highest capacity by doing that. It just means that you're sleeping enough to stay alive. That doesn't mean that your brain's not like basically melting away over years on end. That doesn't mean that like you're reducing your testosterone levels. That doesn't mean that you're impairing your memory. All of these things are happening underlying, like sleep is of course like how you allow your body to restore and repair, right?
Hmm.
So if you're causing a lot, if you're like really stressed in the day and you're training on top of that, you've got a million and one thing, different things to do. You're building a business, you're training clients, whatever you're doing, right? You've got all these things that you're doing in a day. So you're in a state of like fight or flight, right? So you're in a sympathetic nervous system activity state for a lot of the time if you're someone that's always on the go.
Hmm.
Now, sleep is the position where your body does different functions and helps you to, regulate your blood pressure, regulate your metabolism, get into a state of like eat and discrete, rest and digest, just a a state of parasympathetic nervous system activity.
Hmm.
So if you don't get enough of that, your body's going to be, and basically you're just in an overstressed state too much to where, you're then getting negative side effects because your body's never restoring itself. So obviously, like short term, this isn't going to be much of an issue. Long term, this is going to be massive. And the problem with just pushing through poor sleep is the fact that, yes, you can push through and you can get through the day and you may just like have a little bit of brain fog. But like over time, obviously, that's going to increase your dementia risk. Over time, that's going to increase your risk of having hypertension, high blood pressure. Over time, that's going to make you more insulin resistant, right? And increase your risk of type 2 diabetes. So there are all these compounding factors that you don't really think about too much right there and then, but they're happening under the surface because the negative effects accumulate more and more and more and more.
You touched on a few of those side effects there. So talk to me about the side effects of having poor sleep over a long period of time.
In terms of all the side
Obviously,
effects.
yeah, well, so you touched on lowering of testosterone, you touched on high blood pressure, you touched on insulin insulin resistance. Talk to me a little bit about more about the biggest impacts, especially with us in bodybuilding and physique development.
In a bodybuilding context.
Mm.
In a bodybuilding context, it's going to be your testosterone, right? So there was a study that I looked into, and it showed they restricted sleeping participants. I believe they restricted it to 5 hours, and it was every night for a week. What they found is that testosterone levels reduced by 10 to 15%. Now that's
Jesus.
obviously steep restriction, and that's for 1 week, 10 to 15% reduction in testosterone levels. That's a fairly significant amount in 1 week. Now, you have some people that are sleeping 5, 6 hours every night for months on end. So, if you can imagine that that's a reduction over a week, imagine what the reduction of someone not sleeping enough over 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, a year. Imagine how much lower their testosterone levels are going to be. And of course, we all know the impact that testosterone has on our drive, our ability to perform in the gym, our ability to recover, our ability to build muscle. Like it's your main anabolic sex hormone, right? So
Hmm.
when you're neglecting sleep, you're essentially neglecting all processes related to testosterone because the testosterone level is going to be lower. Also, your hunger hormones, right? Like your leptin and ghrelin, so they're going to become dysregulated because they get regulated during sleep. So if those are dysregulated, that's where you can get increased cravings. That's why you can be on the same amount of calories and still feel more hungry, right? Because essentially you haven't actually allowed your body to regulate those hormones. So when sleep is a factor and plays a role in hormone regulation, every time that you're getting not enough sleep, then those things can be out of sync, out of whack. So obviously, it's going to have an impact on your ability to build muscle and your ability to have a good body composition and your ability to actually push hard in the gym and retain muscle. Because if your testosterone is lower, then obviously you're going to be shooting yourself in the foot when it comes to actually building muscle.
It's really interesting what you were saying about the hunger side, and I'm assuming that's why in a prep situation, especially deeper in prep, that's why hunger gets a bit more intense because a lot of the time, for most people, if they're not on top of their sleep is dysregulated. They struggle to get to sleep and stay asleep. They're waking up more because they're peeing more because they're drinking a lot more. So now all of a sudden you're not only having poor sleep, you're also having disrupted sleep. And the overall quality of your sleep just isn't as much because you're either hungry over the night because you haven't had food for a while. You're waking up to fluids because you've been drinking 5, 6, 7 liters in a day. Um, would you say that obviously in a prep situation, that whole sleep having effect on hunger is more prevalent than say in a bulk or any other phase?
Yeah, it's going to be exacerbated, isn't it? Because you're already in a position where your hormones are compromised. You're already in a position, especially in the depths of prep, where you're starving hungry, and yeah, your hormones are already dysregulated. So it's just like a compounding fuel to the fire,
Mhm.
and it's sort of like a negative feedback loop as well, right? Because if you go to bed hungry, then you can wake up in the night, your sleep's dysregulated, so then you have increased cravings because your hunger hormones are out of whack. So yeah, it's a little bit of a
It just gets worse and worse by the day.
yeah, just worse and worse and worse and worse. So yeah, definitely worse in a prep setting, I would say. And I do feel that in prep or off season, either side, either ends of the extreme
Hmm.
is going to be impacted. So
Yeah.
you know, from an off season setting, it's like your ability to remain sensitive to insulin and your ability to just not get fat gets worse if your sleep gets worse. And then obviously in a prep setting, um, you're just bound to get it eventually if your one of your meal timings are off. Two, if like your nutrition quality isn't best.
Hmm.
Um, I would say that sleep on a whole is easier to regulate in an off season. Now, obviously in a prep setting, you can wake up earlier and feel refreshed and switch on straight away. Now, in an off season, like I feel like a lot of people feel groggy because I feel like people get lazy in the off season, in all fairness. Whereas in prep, they have more of like a strict, stringent routine. Because realistically, in an off season, you can still have the same like routine as prep. Like you can still be waking up early. You can still like get worked in the morning. You can still do your cardio in the morning. You can do that, but I feel like people drift in the off season, which then makes it so their sleep gets worse, and then they're not on point with it, and then that like just dysregulates things, and then makes your off season not as effective as it could have been.
A lot of it is a choice though. And I think as food gets higher, the whole prep routine goes out the window because it's now easier to get food. You have more available and you can space out your timings more because you're not actually hungry anymore. Whereas in a prep, the reason why we delay food in the mornings and we try and make food last as long as we can, or we just try and put our meals into a closer time frame is all to try and minimize the amount of hunger we have, to minimize the amount of cravings that we have, and to try and keep energy consistent throughout the day. When we start to have the same meal times as, say, a bulk, it's going to be slightly different because we're going to have a lot more time between meals, meaning that we're probably going to come into more hunger, we're going to come into more cravings, and then if you succumb to those cravings, they're going to make you more hungry, which is going to make you then move your next meal time forwards. But I also think with off season, when we have more food, you tend to be more lazy because you always got that full stomach, so you're always feeling that a little bit sleepy. Like once you've had a big meal, you sit down, you relax a little bit, and all of a sudden you start getting sleepy. What is the reason behind that? Why would you get sleepy after a larger meal?
Well, I think with sleepiness, right? It depends whether you're sleepy or you're tired. So when you say sleepy, do you mean that people have a really large meal and then they actually fall asleep, or do you mean that they're just a bit tired?
Yeah, like so let's use me for example. I have a decently big meal. I sit down, I'm watching something while I'm eating it, and then I just carry on watching it for another half an hour, whatever. And during that half an hour, I start to drift off. I feel myself get quite sleepy and quite tired, and all of a sudden I could literally fall asleep there and then. And then I kind of wake myself up, I move around a little bit, and all of a sudden I'm no longer tired. It's
Mm.
like, what is that kind of pattern that happens?
Well, I think you touched on it as well, right? It's like when you're in a prep setting, food's lower. Your body, like if we go back to cavemen, prehistoric times, where you have to give yourself energy to then get energy, right?
Hmm.
So your stress hormones are elevated, so your cortisol's elevated, your adrenaline's elevated because your body's making you go and hunt for food. So you've naturally got energy. When we have an abundance of carbohydrates or an abundance of food in general, your body's never like it has everything in abundance, so it doesn't need to like go out and get after things. So like realistically, if you think about what our bodies actually want to do most of the time, they want to protect ourselves. Like they just want to repair, restore, and chill. That's about it. Like, and if we don't have
The dream
hunger,
life.
exactly, just chilling out, chilling on the sofa, eating food. But if we don't have any need to like go and hunt and actually get calories in, right, your body's not going to have that drive. It's only when you give it a reason to, like, or if you never give it a reason to move, if you never give like yourself a task and you just eat meals all day, then yeah, you're going to feel sleepy and tired because you're just like not actually utilizing your energy, and your body's thinking, oh, okay, we can just chill out. We can just preserve energy and like just get
Hmm.
fat for the winter because we've got an abundance. So why do we need to be moving around for? So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, it's interesting. I definitely feel it varies. Obviously, once you're in a prep setting, you have your meal, you finish your meal, you're still hungry. So your body doesn't really have that kind of time to sit and relax. It's always on that recovery. It's always on that kind of mindset where it's telling your body you need to go and find more food. You're still hungry. Go and get more food. And I think that's where the kind of energy side of it comes from. Um, but I also think that's why cravings become so intense, is because your body is constantly asking for more food. Your body is almost telling yourself that you're not hungry, that you are hungry and you need more food. You're not giving your body enough nutrients to survive. And obviously we know that we are, but we're intentionally holding ourselves back from certain nutrients so that we can start to lose weight. What would you say is the correlation between weight loss and sleep? Do you think they have a direct correlation?
100%. So if you take two like identical twins, right, or you clone someone, they've got the exact
Mhm.
same genetics, they do the exact same thing, they're eating and say, 500 calorie deficit, they're eating the exact same calories and the exact same cardio. One person sleeps 5 hours a night and it's poor quality. The other person sleeps 8 hours a night and it's good quality. The person that sleeps more is going to lose more fat, right? And the reason is because they're allowing their body to restore and do different processes like keep them metabolically healthy, which basically means when you consume food, you're way more likely to use that food for energy rather than store it as fat. Whereas if you allow your body to become metabolically less healthy because you're like not sleeping at all, then your body's going to become a lot more resistant a lot quicker. So you're going to
Hmm.
find your deficit has to become larger in order to see the same net effects as you
Hmm.
would have if you had like a less reduced calorie drop, but you actually slept enough.
Got you. So it's kind of like, especially in a not necessarily prep, but especially in a fat loss kind of phase, sleep is important in the aspect of it allows us to maintain higher calories for a longest period of time before we have to then reduce them. Whereas if you're sleeping poorly, you then have to drop calories more aggressively as a result because your body isn't having enough time to recover and digest in time to then allow yourself to lose weight. Fair enough. Um, why did you choose to sleep in to dig deeper in sleep? Like what chose you? What allow what made you choose to study sleep on a deeper level?
Really good question, mate. So I've got sleep apnea myself. So I used to wake up feeling like a zombie every day. I would have to read a sentence 5 times before it actually like made sense in my head. I would like have to force my way through the day. I have severe sleep apnea, which essentially means I stop breathing 30 times an hour without my CPAP machine, which is a machine that helps to keep my airways open. So every time I sleep, my airways essentially close off. I stop breathing. That happens 30 times an hour. Now, that essentially means that I never get into good sleep because every time I try and fall into sleep, my body wakes me up because when your airways close off, your oxygen levels drop. If your oxygen levels drop, you're going to die. So your body forces you to wake up, gasp for air. So my body's constantly doing that in the night. So I'm never actually able to rest, get good sleep. So I felt awful. I was the shadow of the person I am today. I was always late. I felt lazy. Didn't have a very good physique. I wouldn't build much muscle. I had headaches. I had so many negative compounding effects because I had sleep apnea. Now that was like started off my journey. I did sport and health science for at a bachelor's and a master's level, and my main interest was always physiology for performance and physiology also for health. Basically, like knowing how you can, use the like prioritize the body physiologically to make it perform at its best and also keep it healthy. So I got an interest in physiology. Then after that, I was working as a PT and I started working as a respiratory exercise professional. I'm a respiratory and sleep scientist.
Hmm.
So that means we cover respiratory and sleep because they're correlated, right? They're the same discipline. So we do both. So I do respiratory testing and I do sleep testing. So I had experience in the respiratory side of things. So I basically did exercise classes for people with lung conditions. I also had sleep apnea at the time that was currently being investigated. And then I heard of this thing called the scientist training program, which is essentially a funded master's degree where you train to be a sleep scientist. And I was like, that sounds amazing. I heard it was super competitive to get into and hard to get into. So I needed to get experience. So that's why I went and did the exercise classes for people with lung conditions, while I was also working as an online coach, fitness coach. And then I kind of came into this. So now I work in a field where in clinic in hospital I see people with sleep apnea, which is awesome because I've got like a massive perspective into that myself and I know how they feel and I know like the massive benefits of getting it treated is going to do not only for how they feel but also like their underlying health,
Hmm.
stopping all those negative health impacts that we spoke about earlier, high blood pressure, diabetes, that sort of thing. And now I've gone fully into sleep coaching, right? So helping coaches improve their clients' sleep, and then also helping people on a one-to-one level to improve their sleep because sleep is the foundation of your progress. It's the life source, and if you're not sleeping, you're not gonna feel your best. Or you're not gonna perform your best, and ultimately you can just like feel so much better in yourself and have such a better quality of life if you do prioritize your sleep. And I don't feel like there's enough people speaking about it or like speaking about it or investigating it to a high level, especially in the bodybuilding space. Like I don't know anyone. Everyone obviously says, "Oh yeah, you need to sleep 8 7 hours.
Hmm.
You should take Train by JP Dream Sleep. It is a great supplement." But like to blanket statements like you know go to bed at the same time, or have a cool environment, or take a supplement. Like they're not real. They don't go in depth enough to improve sleep. So that's essentially what I do. I get people. I audit their sleep. I look at everything that's going on. figure out, okay, what's the actual underlying issue and what are the highest impact things that we can actually do to improve it. Like, that's the level that I go into, and I feel
Hmm.
like that's a level that you need if sleep's one of the main things that's either holding you back, or you're really looking to maximize progress, or looking to feel your best to perform your best in a work setting, in a productivity focused mental cognition sense, or even in a bodybuilding sense where you want to maximize your recovery.
Yeah, I think it's not that it is that not enough people do it, but I think that's mainly down to there isn't enough education on it. I
Mm.
think there's plenty of education on how to build muscle. There's plenty of education on what the correct split is. There's plenty of education on the nutrition side and all of that. And like you say, we're always told you need 7, 8, 9 hours sleep. Everyone's different. We're always told that you should stop looking at anything blue light, whether it's phones, whether it's laptops, any sort of screen, TVs. Allow your body, allow your mind to relax. Maybe read for 30 minutes before bed. Minimize exposure to any sort of brighter light, blue light, whatever. But there's no, there's never any kind of why. Obviously, is we understand that it's needed and it's effective and it works and it helps you sleep because you allows your mind to slow down and prepare for bed. But there's never actually any education on the real reasons as to why that's so effective, why that's so beneficial, why specifically are you removing blue light? Does blue light blockers actually work for that kind of thing? Are you able to go to bed 30 minutes before, stop watching anything blue light 30 minutes before instead of an hour, as long as you're wearing some sort of blue light blockers. It's like there's so many things that are unanswered and actually unquestioned. People don't question it. They just accept that's kind of how it is. And I think, like you said, with the bodybuilding, we're so much about improving our physique and improving the way we feel, improving our nutrition, but like you said, there's not really enough on how we improve our sleep and how crucial and beneficial it is for physique development, muscle growth, and all of that.
Yeah, it's also blanket recommendations, right? Like, and I can't fault coaches for it, because if a coach isn't like specifically trained in that area, then you're gonna give the recommendations that you know work for most people. But it's like, if I tell the same 10 people, read 30 minutes before bed, stop scrolling on Instagram Reels 30 minutes before bed, go to bed at the same time, and take magnesium. Like, some people that's going to work for, some people it's not. Like, why are we taking magnesium? Like, you don't even need magnesium if you're not deficient in magnesium. The studies on magnesium show that actually the evidence is very low. But subjectively, right? If you've got like a if it works for you, then use it, right? But like, at the same time, we shouldn't be recommending people take magnesium if there's no like actual need for it. Like,
Do you
why are we
think a
taking?
lot of it is placebo?
For some people, it's placebo. Like some of these supplements, I'll name a few: L-theanine, valerian root, ashwagandha, and magnesium. Like, they can have a place, but they all do different things, right? Which is why a lot of people take, myself included, before I've taken Train by JP Dream Sleep, because it has all of these and they're efficaciously dosed, so you know that something's going to work, right? But at the same time, it's like, people take magnesium because like Andrew Huberman says it, right? Or like some sleep guy says it, or they saw it on a podcast, which is fine. But usually, like, supplements aren't the first layer of the thing that you need to solve, because you can take a supplement and still sleep poorly because you haven't actually fixed the root issue.
It's like the
It's the same.
1%.
Yeah, it's the 1%. It's the cherry on top. It's not the actual foundation. It's not the
Hmm.
cake. It's not the foundation of the cake. It's the cherry on top. It's also a case of like, you know, if we give, like, you wouldn't give the same 5 clients the same training plan, because like that's not going to be the most effective thing for all of them. So why are we giving the same people the exact same sleep recommendations when one thing that helps someone else's sleep isn't going to affect the other person's sleep? We've got to figure out what the issue is. Is it the fact that they are too stimulated before bed? Is it the fact they can't wind down? Is it the fact they keep waking up in the night? Is it the
Mhm,
fact that, you know, they've got a million things that they haven't actually dealt with in the day, so they're creeping up midnight? Is it the fact that they are, yeah, deficient in some sort of like vitamin? Is it the fact that, you know, they keep getting into arguments with someone late at night, or they're they're stuck in Reddit in the evenings? And it's not necessarily like always the blue light. Blue light blockers can be effective. The most important, like the thing that'll be even more effective, is just not to use the screen.
mhm,
Obviously, like we all know that circadian rhythm, your body clock is anchored by light, right? So
mhm.
there are receptors in your eyes. They view light. They tell your body whether it's time to be awake or if it's time to be sleepy with an absence of light. So if you're like, and like it's taken with a pinch of salt though, because if you view a screen right before bed that you can still sleep fine, why does it matter? It doesn't. It's only if these are actually impacting your sleep. So I think that we can often get too caught up in the fact that these are the 5 things that you need to be doing to maximize your sleep. Well, actually, no. Most people don't need that much overwhelm. Because then they try and like overthink sleep, and then sleep gets worse because sleep doesn't happen from like trying hard. It comes from relaxation. So when you're over
Relaxation.
trying to do sleep and you're overthinking about it and you're trying to overperform, that's why it can sometimes get worse. That's why sometimes sleep trackers are poor to use, because they
Mm,
actually make
you
you overthink it,
overthink it. Mm.
which can make it worse.
Did
So
you did you see? I can't remember which episode. Do you watch Modern Wisdom or listen to it?
Modern Wisdom, I
The one
watch
with
it some,
Chris Williamson.
yeah, not all the time. I prefer Diary of a CEO, to be honest, but
I need to get on that. I haven't watched any of them. Um, but yeah, so basically, Chris did an episode with someone who was all about kind of biohacking life and, um,
I know
huh?
who this is.
You know?
I know who this is. It's the old guy. It's the guy who's trying to stay young. I forgot his name. Brian Johnson.
I, yeah, yeah, yeah. I think it
Yes.
was with Brian. I can't remember if it was that one or if it was a different one. But they were basically talking about habits. And like you said, you had two people. You had one who didn't think about their sleep at all. They were on their phone until late. They felt tired. They put their phone on charge. They went to bed. They woke up when they woke up. And then you
Simple.
had the other person who had a 2 hour pre-bed routine where they turned off all of their lights. They did everything in the dark. They brushed their teeth in the dark. They no blue light, no nothing for 2 hours. And then their partner comes in 15 minutes before bed, turns on the bathroom light while he's in there. He has a massive fit and everything, and then sleeps really, really poorly because he goes to bed. His whole routine has been ruined, blah, blah, blah. His wife, on the other hand, was on her phone scrolling in bed, put her phone down, went to sleep, slept like a baby, didn't wake up. And it was all basically about how, like you said, sleep it's not a productivity hack. It's not, you have to have the perfect routine. And for some people, yes, routine is great, but once you start to overthink it too much, once you start to act like it's this next productivity trick that you can do X, Y, and Z and sleep perfectly, that's not how it works. The more you overthink it, the more you think too much about it, the worse you're actually probably going to sleep. Because as you said, sleep is all about relaxation. If you need to scroll on your phone for 20 minutes to really relax and kind of settle into your bed and then go to sleep, that works for some people. Like other people, like you can fall asleep to watching Netflix and you wake up in the morning and you're still going. Like you've watched 3 different movies that you had no clue about because you've been sleeping the whole time.
Mm.
But there's other people who they need specifics. They need blackout for 30 minutes before they go into the bed, or they have a pre-bed reading ritual where they have to read for 30 minutes straight, otherwise they can't sleep effectively. It's it's I think it's at the same time as it's very undereducated, it's also very overthought at the same
Yeah.
time.
Yeah, I think that lots of people try and hack sleep. You don't hack sleep. You just don't. And it's funny that you mentioned about like the over trying, because actually that's I'm not saying that anyone that does this has this, by the way, but it is like a sign of insomnia. when someone has this extremely rigid routine. They're doing absolutely everything to the letter. They're crossing the, I can't remember what the phrase is, crossing the T's, dotting the I's, whatever it's called. They're
That
doing
is it.
everything.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go then. I'm not dumb. They're trying to absolutely like nail sleep and optimize it to the best of their ability. Those people usually don't sleep so well because they're trying everything to optimize, and then that's stressing them out more, and it is, yeah, actually linked to insomnia. Now, the one thing I would say is like with scrolling and that sort of thing, I would say if it's like low intensity relaxation sort of thing, it's not an issue. I would say if you're like watching Ronnie Coleman, yeah, buddy squats at like 10 p.m. before bed, you're probably not going to sleep so well, right?
Mm.
So I think it's just like it's called it's stimulus control. So like, what are the inputs you're actually putting into your brain? Because like, despite sleep and how well you perceive yourself to sleep, like it's unlikely that if you have something like that going on right before bed that you're going to sleep well. But at the same time, you are right, mate. Like if something's ingrained into your routine and that's something that you do, and it's not quote unquote like the best thing for sleep, but it works for you, you sleep fine, you get enough deep sleep, you get enough REM sleep, you wake up feeling refreshed, you're recovering well, then like who really cares? Like some people have to watch TV in bed to listen to it for white noise to be able to actually fall asleep. Now,
That's
like
an interesting one. Why is
yeah,
that?
it's conditioning from a long time, right? Like some people in households, they are just conditioned to the point where they've always got noise going on in the house. Like for me, growing up, me and my mum, we always used to, like, the house was silent, right? So always just use I need silence. I use earplugs before sleep because yeah, any like whisper of noise and I'm up, right? And I'm gonna be like thinking about that noise. So for me, it's like I need that to avoid
Hmm.
that. Whereas other people, if you've grown up in a noisy household, if you've always had the TV on at night and that's how you've just fallen asleep, your body gets conditioned to things very easily, right? It's the same as like a movement pattern in the gym. If you've been doing a lateral raise, shit, for like 5 years, and then you try and like redo the lateral raise, you're going to be shrugging it up. Your hands are going to be above your elbows, and you're going to really struggle to be able to actually properly do the movement pattern. It's not
Hmm.
until you actually decondition that into where it improves. But people get conditioned to like that's what they need to do in order to fall asleep. And for others, it's like actually, if their mind is racing so much in the night because they're so overstimulated and they've got so many things going on, that for them to switch off listening to some sort of like noise or sound at a certain frequency, and that if they've gotten used to the TV, that's their white noise, which actually helps them to take their mind off the thing that is keeping their mind so stimulated.
On a separate note, you know how some babies you need white noise or something like that to help them sleep, or if they're really disrupted in their sleep pattern sometimes, whether it be a white noise maker or like you said, a TV or something like that. Why? Because obviously with babies, they don't necessarily grow up in that loud household. That is just how it is. What is so important about the whole white noise environment for a baby's sleep?
In all fairness, mate, I do
Do you
not
not
do
know?
babies.
No, I thought so, but it was worth a try.
Yeah, no, that's fair. It's a good question. It's a good question. I'll have to look into it,
Do
but
you have any thought?
not so much.
No,
No,
that's fine.
done no, I've done no pediatrics where I work, and at uni I haven't done anything on it. So
It's
it's
probably
not my.
something interesting to look at because,
Mm.
like you said, with the um, growing up in a noisy household, you need and just having that TV playing the whole time um, is kind of like that reinforcement as you're going on. It's that keeping that noise. It's like because when you're in sleep, your hearing is slightly elevated because you're no longer using your eyes. Your eyes are closed, so the rest of your senses become a little bit more. So that's why you're a lot more receptive to touch. You're a lot more receptive to um, noise and temperature as well. I think like if you're if you usually sleep at X amount of temperature, if it's 1 degree more, 1 degree less, you could be slightly more disrupted. Same as if you have creaky floorboards in your house and you know which stairs wakes up, which stairs makes what noise. When you're sleeping, if you hear that stairs, you're more likely to wake up. So you're more likely to wake up before your parents open your door or something like that. I think that's quite an interesting thing, and it's how superhuman our body is. You take away one sense, and next thing you know, all of your others become a lot more enhanced. I think that's what's so interesting about when someone becomes deaf. I know, or you become blind, and suddenly you're now relying on other senses. I think that's a really, really cool thing, don't you?
Yeah, 100%. There's also a case of, again, going back to prehistoric caveman times, like we would need, if you're asleep, like that's when you're most vulnerable. So you need to be aware of like loud noises and sounds because, like, if that's a saber-toothed tiger, tiger, tiger coming to get you, then you need to be able to like get up and get straight into action, right? Um, on another note as well, when you're in light sleep, that's when you're most prone to waking up because you're not in deeper stages of sleep yet. When you're in deeper stage of sleep, like obviously REM sleep, you lose the ability to move, like your body paralyzes you, so you don't act out your dreams. So when you're in these deeper stages of sleep, you're less likely to actually wake up. Now, when you're in light sleep, which is more of a transition stage of sleep into more restorative stages of sleep, well, then you're going to be more prone to waking up. So that's why earplugs can come in quite useful because when you're actually first drifting off, if you're someone that's like hypersensitive to noise, and if you're someone that's like again hyper aroused to noise, because like you said, your senses are heightened, then if that's like disrupting your ability to fall asleep because you're constantly aware of noises, then
Hmm.
earplugs are a way to go, I would say, especially if you live in like a noisy environment as well. But yeah, like most people, if they're in a deeper stage of sleep, you're not waking them up unless like something's like really like loud or they get shook, like shook. You probably
Hmm.
know someone, you probably like try and shake them in a house fire, they wouldn't wake up. Or an
Yeah.
earthquake, right? So when you're in those stages, you're less prone to waking because your body's going through like its processes. But when you're in light sleep, it's a lot easier for your body to wake and actually be aware of these sounds and noises.
So talk to me about the different stages of sleep and why each are so important.
Yeah, good question. So you've got so sleep isn't just like you're awakening or asleep. That's not just like on and off switch. It's actually a case of sleep cycles, right? And we have like around 4 to 5 of these sleep cycles per night. Five for most people. Now you go awake and then you start in light sleep, which is stage one and stage two. So stage one is your light stage of sleep, then you drift off into stage two, and they're transition phases really. Now, after you are in stage one and stage two sleep for a bit, you then go into deep sleep and you get most of your deep sleep in the first half of the night, right? Now, deep sleep, like I said, is the most important thing when it comes to actually allowing your body to recover and keeping you alive. So it's the thing that restores your body. It's the thing that essentially allows your brain to wash out, toxins that have accumulated in the day. Basically, it flushes out cerebral spinal fluid, so it keeps your brain nice and healthy. It keeps your organs functioning well. So deep sleep is the stuff that you need to be getting in order for your body to actually function and your mind to function. Now, REM sleep is more correlated to your ability to regulate your emotions, your ability to actually process and consolidate memories, your ability to learn skills and motor patterns. So when we learn a skill in the day, right? So if I learn to throw a rugby ball, that's great. But sleep is actually where you set that in stone and you've learned that skill in the day, you've practiced the motor pattern. When you actually sleep, that's when that's fully ingrained now into your mind. So next time you do it, you get better at doing the thing. So if you're not sleeping well, like your ability to actually learn movements and learn skills is gonna like just take you longer because you're never actually like setting it in stone. So you're making the mold, but it's like kind of like deteriorating because you're not setting it in stone with enough sleep. So
Hmm.
as well, if you're not getting enough REM sleep, you can be more emotionally unstable, more reactive, have a be in a higher state of stress. So that's how I would look at the different sleep stages. So obviously, your deep and REM sleep in that sense are going to be the most important stages, really.
Hmm.
All sleep's important, but they're the most important stages. And then your light sleep are more transition stages into those stages of sleep.
Touching on what you were saying about when you're in sleep, that's when you absorb the most information, and that's when the information gets locked in. You know how sometimes people say that you should, if you're learning if you want to learn a new language, you listen to a podcast or you listen to an episode of learning and teaching of that said language overnight while you're asleep. Does that actually have an effect to how much you can learn of that language subconsciously, or is that
Hmm.
just kind of a myth?
I would have to research that a bit more. I haven't actually seen any research on it, and I haven't heard anything about it. It's a really good question, actually. Um, my thoughts, I'm leaning more towards myth. I think it sounds a bit too
Hmm.
good to be true that you can just fall asleep, have something on in the background, and you magically learn that.
Yeah.
From a learning standpoint, right? Like we actually have to understand what is being said, then process what's being said, and then like make sure that we know what the context was and what it actually meant.
Hmm.
So I feel like because I wouldn't expect to like learn the lyrics of a song if I just have the song playing in the background when I was asleep. Now, if I actually actively focus on the song and then I understood what words that were being said and then I maybe sung it a few times, okay, then I'm going to learn the song.
Hmm.
But if I just have that song in the background, like I don't really feel like I'm going to learn it. So I think that's likely a myth, but again, I'm not 100% certain on that.
Because there's a few different ways to learn, isn't there? Like the first time you read it, you take on some of the information. And then if you rewrite it, you learn it a little bit more. If you were to teach someone else about it, then you learn it even more. And I think there's another one which I can't remember. Um, I think those three are the main ones. You read it, you rewrite it, and you teach it. And they're kind of the three best ways to lock in information and improve your overall information. I think that's why us as coaches, it becomes so natural to us because we do it ourselves, or we learn about it first, or someone else tells us about it, and then we do it ourselves for the first ever time, and then we teach someone else how to do it. And now, all of a sudden, you know for a fact that this works, maybe in slightly different variations, but as a whole, it all works to a degree.
100%. There are like many different types of learning, and many people will learn in different ways, right? And need different communication styles and that sort of thing. And that's everything you learn from coaching, like the self-made, like with your clients, obviously. Some people you can tell, yeah, get the fuck on with it. There's other people you need like a softer touch, right? I think it's like people take information in differently and respond well to different information. Like me, I'm very much I want to do the thing, and that's how I will learn. I need to do action and take action, then I'll learn it. You could tell me something like 100 different times, I'm probably not gonna learn. Like, I need to actually act out that thing. Like my main way of learning and feedback and actually retaining information is just doing it. And other
Hmm.
people probably do fantastically well and do everything by the letter just by like reading it. That doesn't work for me, right? So yeah, I think that like obviously different processes and learning methods of learning is super like beneficial. And obviously, if you coach anyone that's like studying as well, then like they'll understand that like the way that the from the assessment form, like they perform well at. So whether it's essays, whether it's presentations, whether it's just a written exam, or whether it's whatever it could be, people are going to perform different in different things, and people are also going to like learn in different ways depending on who they are. I'm doing a clinical science degree at the moment in relation to, because that's what in respiratory and sleep, because that's what I'm obviously doing right now. And
Hmm.
I know for me, like I can smash the part. I know if I do a presentation, I'm smashing it because that's just I can present that way. I like
Hmm.
to I can articulate things well. But then if you give me an exam, I'm cooked. If you give me a written exam, I'm cooked. So I think that yes, I've kind of gone on a tangent there, but I quite liked what you said about different like information styles and how people actually learn and that sort of thing.
Yeah, I think what you touched on there with the the fact that you do so much more presenting, I think it's deeper than just the presenting. I think it's the art of learning it in the first place. And then once you've learned it, you're now trying to create the perfect presentation. And this might be subconscious, this might be conscious. You might not know that you're trying to do it, but we're all in some sort perfectionists, and we all want, if we're ever presenting something to someone, whether it's me presenting the podcast on YouTube or you presenting sleep guidance or a presentation on how to improve your sleep, blah, blah, blah. It's all about trying to make it as best as possible and trying to create the ideal learning environment. And I think for you, the key, what the case is you spend so much time creating this amazing presentation that you want everyone to really enjoy and take away from. So you're not only trying to make the information as clear as possible, you're trying to make it as concise as possible so people are learning the most from the smallest amount, and in so much thought process and so much effort into thinking about how you're going to then create this presentation and how you're then going to improve it. You've then done so much in your own brain to the point where now you go to present it and you're not only building on every single little bit of information you've retained from when you were presenting it in the first place, but also from all of the learning that you were doing in the background. Like, I am a very, very visual learner. Everything I do is visual. You can tell me how to do a new form, or the other way that I work best is, if you do it, if it's a brand new exercise, you do it, I'll watch you, I'll do it exactly how you did it. But I'm also a very physical person as well, to the point where if you tell me to do a brand new exercise and you've never shown me how to do it, but you give me some sort of idea on how I should do it, I'll do the exercise for 1 rep. I'll then tweak it on rep 2. I'll tweak it on rep 3. And by rep 4, I'll probably have it nailed. And that's simply because I understand how to feel. I understand how my body works and the paths that I need to move movements in. But at the same time, when it comes to a client training, if I'm watching them train, I can literally tweak. I can be like, okay, bring this shoulder back slightly, rotate this hip, bring this side of your hip forward and crunch down a little bit. And they're like, whoa, how'd you do that? And I'm like, I can see things. I see paths. I see movements. I understand how you work. Um, and I think I really liked what you were saying about the presentation thing. I know I just went on a tangent, but I really liked what you said about the presentation thing, because I think that's very important to understand how you work and how you learn. Like, similar to you, I was never good at exams purely because I absolutely despise the whole regurgitation process. Like, I hate learning. I love learning. I hate having to portray it in a way that someone else wants me to, because that's not how I work. I like to explain it in my way. I like to move it around in my way and kind of have my own twist on it. And you could never have that in exams, and that's kind of the reason I hate it, really.
Yeah, I think we get put into boxes where everyone's expected to perform the same no matter the
Mhm.
assessment type. It's obviously completely backwards and makes no sense. And obviously, like a lot of successful entrepreneurs and business owners do poorly in school, but then like massively excel in building a business because it's like your mind works in different ways. Um, Also, I think that presenting as well, not only with fitness and how you explain things and how you like critique form, but also with sleep. I think that a lot of people can really get caught up into using a lot of big words that nobody cares about. So I think that one thing that is such a beneficial thing to do, and I always try and do this, is just present information in the simplest way possible, like to a lay audience, to a lay summary. Like, think about what you're trying to say, and then just put it to baseline, right? Because nobody cares about you talking about, for my instance, nobody cares about cortisol spikes. Nobody cares about circadian rhythms. Nobody cares about, you know, sleep stages and EEGs and like the science of sleep. Nobody actually cares. They just care about, how can you make me sleep better so I can perform better and get better results. So like it comes down to a point where our whole job is basically to simplify things and make it
Huh?
so that the client has a very easy like user experience, to where they do this, they get the result. They do this, they get the result. And I think that explaining things is good when it comes in a simple way, but I also think that if you like overcomplicate shit, then it's just like makes it so it's like a bit obsolete, right? So I think the
Mm.
first point of call for everything should just be like, okay, what are the things that I can do to get to where I want to go? Second thing should be, okay, explain that in a way where the client actually understands why they're doing said thing so they can actually adhere to it and stick to it. Because if you tell
Mhm.
someone to do something without actually giving them the foundation and the reasoning why, they're not going to do it. So
An interesting thing, going back to when I was talking about changes in temperature, um, do you know much about sleep mattresses and the
uh,
effects on heating and cooling? And do they actually work?
I've got a war against sleep mattresses, mate. Like I've got a war against calling. You see me on LinkedIn, I attack them. So just another thing. It's just another hack, right? Like for example, the 8 sleep pods. So you pay $3,000, you get this thing that like does. It's an AI generated thing that like makes it so it cools your body temperature to the exact thing. Just open your window, or just take your duvet out and use the sheet. That's the way you can cool your body temperature. Obviously, yes, your body needs to be cool to allow you to be able to release melatonin and fall asleep, your sleepiness hormone. So to fall asleep, yes, your body needs to be cool. Not too cool to where you're comfortable, but like you don't want to be warm because then you're not going to be able to fall asleep. You don't need to go out and buy a cooling mattress. You just need to find a way to make yourself cooler. Maybe don't wear like an Udi in bed. Maybe don't like use a massive duvet. Maybe like switch and just put a fan on. Like do million and one different things other than buying a cooling mattress because you're wasting your money. You know what I mean? It's just again, it's just
I think a lot of the time it's those who have an abundance of money and it's like, what can I spend it on next? Oh, let's get a mattress where I can keep it cool and my partner can be boiling hot because that's how people sleep. And it's like,
I don't even
everyone's,
abundance, to be fair.
huh?
I don't think it's an abundance of money. I think it's more people always look to the quickest shortcut. Rather than
Yeah.
actually like fixing their habits, they'd rather just, I can buy this thing, sleep in it, and my sleep's fixed. It's like, okay, I think that's what it is. But
I can stay on my laptop 3 hours past my bedtime, but it's okay because I have a cooling mattress, so it doesn't matter. For someone who's listening, if you were to give your top 3 tips on the first steps you'd take to improving your sleep, shoot.
good question. The first number one thing you'll want to do is keep your wake time consistent within 30 minutes, ideally, maximum if you have to lie in on weekends, an hour. That's going to essentially anchor your ability to wake up. So if you wake up at the same time every morning, you're going to get sleepy when you need to sleep. So when we like push our wake times back because we want to sleep in a bit more, your sleepiness gets later in the day, so you're going to find it harder to sleep. Also, your body loves routine, so if you just wake up consistently at 6 a.m., 6:30 a.m., whatever, right? You're going to wake up and feel refreshed and energized because your body's used to waking up at that time. So the hormones that it releases allows you to be awake and alert at that time. If you start going to bed or waking up at 6 a.m. and then 9 a.m. and then 10 a.m. and then 5 a.m., your body's not going to know what the fuck's going on. It's going to be super confused. Essentially, you're going to feel groggy. You know, the grogginess feeling that people get on the weekends is because they then push their wake time back, right? So the most important thing that you can do, like forget bedtime per se. The first thing you want to focus on is your wake time because that anchors your bedtime. If you wake up at the same time every morning, then essentially you're going to get sleepy when you actually need to sleep, so you're going to get enough sleep, right? You don't want to force your bedtime because if you force your bedtime, then you might just be lying in bed and not actually sleeping, which makes you going to bed pointless, right? So
Mhm.
anchor wake time first, even if you get less sleep at the start, keep persistent with it because then you'll naturally start going to bed at the time that you need to get enough sleep, and you'll wake up feeling refreshed and energized. That's one. Number two, have some sort of relaxation thing that you do before bed if you are someone that's highly stimulated. If you are someone, and it's quite frequent in the modern day, that you are extremely stressed out, you're always stimulated, you're always on your phone, you've always got like client messages pinging through, you're always getting like emails coming through, you've always got something to do. Have something where you can just unwind, something that you enjoy doing. Now, if this is a relaxing Netflix thing, fine, go ahead. Yes, there's going to be blue light, but the benefits that doing something relaxing is going to have on your ability to fall asleep is going to outweigh the blue light. So find something that's actually relaxing. Now, and again, that's the same for the opposite effect, right? If you read a book, but that you really get gripped into the book and it like stimulates you and that you're engaged and that you can't stop thinking about it. Don't read that book because it's still going to have the same negative effect. It needs to be relaxing to you. So whether
Mm.
that's breathing, breath work, whether that's meditation, whether that's journaling, doing a brain dump, whether that is, watching a relaxing movie, like whatever that is, an audiobook, find something that helps you that you can do. If you do it, it's actually going to help you unwind and then your mind's not racing and it's something that you can actually easily go into your routine and keep it consistent so that it sticks and that your sleep is consistently good because you've constantly got something that actually works for you. So that's number two. Number three. Mm, number three.
I love this, by the way. This is great. I love this.
Thank you, mate. I've got a good one with number three, actually.
Hmm.
Number three is your bed should only be used for sleep and intimacy, right? If you are scrolling on your phone in bed, if you're watching Netflix in bed, if you are doing anything in bed other than using it for sleep or intimacy, your body is going to start associating that bed for the other activity. For example, um, if I tell you, right, if I say, okay, come and bring a tennis racket, we're gonna go play tennis, right? We're gonna go to the tennis court, we play tennis. Next day, I tell you to bring a tennis racket, but what we do is we go to a coffee shop. Okay, you're gonna think that's a bit weird. Next day, I'm gonna tell you to bring a tennis racket. You're not gonna know whether we're gonna go play tennis at the court or we're going to the coffee shop. So you're gonna get a bit confused. The same thing with your body, right? If you use your bed for anything other than sleep, then it's going to be like, okay, what are we supposed to be doing here? Are we supposed to be, going on TikTok and watching TikTok? Are we supposed to be on Instagram Reels? Are we supposed to be, commenting on bodybuilding forums or, your mate's latest bodybuilding transformation on Instagram? Like, what are we supposed to be doing here? A lot of the time, your body's just a bit confused. You need to make it so that your bed and your room is a safe space for sleep. Because if you start doing all these extracurricular activities, like watching, I don't even know what a good Netflix series is at the moment, watching some sort of Netflix series or scrolling on your phone, then your body, your mind is going to associate that thing with being in bed. It's obviously not going to forget that the bed is for sleep, but it's going to start correlating other things with sleep as well, with the bed as well. So that when you actually try and sleep in the bed, it's going to start like, if you can't fall asleep, then it might be because your body's thinking it should be doing the other activity before it actually falls asleep, which isn't the case. You should be using the bed and actually falling asleep.
Sick. That was great. I like them.
Thanks.
That third one was pretty cool. It's very interesting as well because it makes complete sense. Um, you know how some people say that you should sleep with your phone outside of your room? Is there any actual difference between having your phone outside or having it on, say, your desk, which is on the other side of the room?
Only if you go on it, right? Like if you're someone, you wake up, you go on your phone, you check the time, you scroll on it, then yes, if you need to put your phone outside the room, I would say you've got a little bit of a addiction
Problem.
phone, and maybe a self control issue there. Not to be harsh, you shouldn't need to be putting your phone outside your room. Like it's really not that big of a deal. Now, again, on like wearing the shoe on the other foot here, like if you simply can't help it, right, and putting your phone outside your room takes away the temptation and gives you the peace of mind that you need, then by all means do it. I personally couldn't do it because I use an alarm called Sleep Cycle, which essentially wakes me up in like a 30-minute window. But I use that, so I need my phone beside my bed. But I have the ability to not go on it when I wake up. So it's pretty bad to look at your phone when you wake up because you're actively giving yourself anxiety because you're thinking, okay, what time is it? I need to go back to sleep. I'm going to be up in X hours. It's just not a good idea. Like, you don't need to be doing that. And again, like, I get the fact that we have access to like an unlimited amount of things on our phone now, but at the same time, you just don't need to be looking at it, do you? So yeah, that's my
Talk to me
take.
about sleep cycle. What's that?
Yeah, so Sleep Cycle is an app. Now essentially what it does is it tries, and again, it's an app, right? So it's not going to be the most accurate thing in the world. It tries to wake you up in your lightest stage of sleep by detecting your breathing and your movement. I think it's mainly breathing. So essentially, what it does is it will try and yeah, I think it's like movement based on like actually your sounds. See, if you're in REM sleep, then you've got muscle. Basically, you can't move because you're paralyzed. It's normal. It's what your body does when you're in REM sleep. Um, so it kind of like listens out for your movements. So it tries to wake you up within a 30-minute window in your light stage of sleep because If you wake up out of REM sleep or deep sleep, it's going to be more likely to be REM sleep because you get more of that in the later stage of the night. If you wake up in those stages, your body's doing different processes, right? Like you're processing memories or learning a skill. If you wake up out of that stage of sleep, there's a like you're in a deeper stage of sleep, right? So you're going from that stage to awake. So there's a bit of distance there. So you wake up
Mhm.
feeling groggy. You don't even know where you are. You think it's Tuesday, it's Thursday, that kind of thing. That's why people feel weird when they wake up from a nap. Now, if you wake up in your light stage of sleep, that's the stage of sleep where physiologically you are closest to being awake. So if you wake up in your
Mhm.
light stage of sleep to awake, then you're not going to feel so groggy. You're going to feel more refreshed, and you're not going to feel like so tired. So it's always best to wake up in a lighter stage of sleep if you can. And sleep cycle is just a way to do that, and it stops. Like I used to have like a really loud alarm that used to like wake me up, but
I
that's not a
think
good
we
way.
all have. We all have.
Yeah, it's not a good way to wake up, mate. Like it's not normal. It aggravates you. It spikes your stress hormones, and you start the day on the back foot. This alarm is like a very gentle, gradual alarm. That's like I was gonna do the theme, then I'm gonna leave
Go
that
on,
because
do it.
it makes no, I don't know. It basically it's a light piano sound. I'm never doing that again. Um, it's a light piano sound, and it just like kind of like goes up until Dano's sleep cycle is I would be completely different. That's just why I perceived it to be.
Does
Again, I'm
it work on your normal like sleep schedule, I'm assuming?
pardon.
Like, do you set like a typical wake time that you would like to wake up at, and then it kind
Yeah,
of
yeah. So like
activates?
at the moment, I like to wake up around 5.
Hmm.
So I set it between 4:45 and 5:15. Honestly, I usually wake up at 5:15 because that's when it wakes me up.
Yeah.
But then yeah, it's handy because then it like I've noticed a difference, massive difference in like how I
Okay.
actually feel upon waking.
I'll try that.
So yeah, because it tends to wake me up when I am closer to being awake. Like when you're like light sleeping, you're kind of like awake, but you're kind of like
You
asleep.
know you're up, but you don't want to
Yeah,
get up. You don't want to open your eyes yet because you know that if you do, you'll be awake. But if you don't, there might be the opportunity that you can go back to sleep. So you just stay like this, and then you kind of go like this, and it's like, oh no, it's still dark outside, so I'm just gonna stay like this now.
well, you are actually you are in between like awake and asleep there because they're not like one thing or the other. You
Is
are
it?
you are kind of like doing both. So in that stage, that's the best stage of sleep to wake out of to feel your
Hmm.
best. If you're in that stage and you actually wake up and then you snooze, you're done
You're
for.
done. You're
Yeah,
done.
you're done. You're
Get
gonna feel
out.
all.
Get out.
So
You're done.
yeah, if you wake up in that stage where you are like just because I like woke up this morning and I was like I think I was having like aware that I was sort of like coming around, but I didn't actually know because I was still asleep. And then my alarm goes off, and I'm like, oh yeah, I'm awake. Yeah, I thought I was getting awake actually. So it's just like
Mm.
that kind of vibe, which is nicer than just getting alarmed up in the morning. That's not nice. That's like gun to head sort
It's
of
like the
awakening.
people that have like Ziz shouting at them in the morning. And it's like, we
Running to
go, Jim.
lightweight
Just like,
baby in the morning. It's just not a good way.
just waking up to a Ronnie Coleman scream in your ear. Um, Chester Maglo, everyone.
It's
Thank
a
you
way to
very
wake.
much for joining me. I've really appreciated this. This has been very, very, very insightful. Thank you for joining me. What can people expect from you next?
Expect me to be the main person in sleep because
Heck.
I'm working with a few coaches now. I'm working within their coaching teams and basically just improving, stabilizing, and optimizing their client sleep depending on how their current sleep is. You know, people are going to need different things depending on how their sleep currently is. But I'm going to be the person that all coaches come for sleep because nobody else does what I do. I've got experience as an online fitness coach. I've got experience in sleep science. I've got client results. And yeah, I do believe that I am the person to go to for this because I have the knowledge, I have the experience, I have the skills, and I can integrate really well with coaches because I know the systems, I know the check-in process, I know the communication styles. I can just integrate with these coaches so easily and just become, an extra layer of foundation of their service to improve things and be that thing that coaches are fantastic at nutrition and like giving advice. They have so much knowledge, but the gap is usually sleep, and the gap is sleep because there is no training around it. Like you do a PT course, you don't get training sleep. Sleep seven to
Yeah.
9 hours. Do that, you'll be fine. You don't get like training in it, and that's like the thing that I've had that allows me to work so well and add the additional layer. Because I'm not going to pretend that I'm the best bodybuilding coach. You know, I'm also not the best like high rocks coach. I'm also not the best endurance coach, but I am the best sleep coach, right? So that's something that I can use and help other people with, to help more and more people to use sleep as the thing that allows them to actually be their best and function at the level that they want to, and not wake up groggy, and not wake up tired, and not wake up and not put all this effort into training and nutrition, just have like a leaky bucket to where you're putting in so much stimulus, but it's just coming out because ultimately your funnel is broken because you're not allowing your body to fully recover from having good enough sleep.
Sick. Where can people find you?
Find me on Instagram, LinkedIn, and YouTube, all Chester Maglo, and expect every single one of my posts to be sleep related. So yeah, you can expect that. I'll find a way to weave it in somehow.
Awesome. Thank you again. Thank you very much for joining me. I've had a blast. This has been amazing. And hopefully, we'll see you back very, very shortly. And if you have watched this far and you've taken a lot of information from this and you have loved what Chester has had to say, feel free to drop him a message, tell him how much you've enjoyed it. And if you have any sleep problems, any issues, then you know exactly who to go to. But again, this has been Charlie. Thank you very much for joining me, and we'll speak to you guys soon. Peace out.